Alright, now we're going to be working on the chassis bag. So I've taken all the components out and I'm going to show you some of the items here. So we're going to need the servo. Now I'm not going to be using this chassis, so I'm just going to show you a few little things. These, if you place them like this, it's going to look like this, they'll just snap in place. That's all you do for these. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this because we're not going to be using it. I already have it in the other one. There's going to be a few screws left over from this. This goes back here. This is for the battery. Actually, it goes here. But I'll show you on the other chassis. And here is the other chassis. So you're going to need a 5mm nut driver for this here, and then it just screws on. And then you have the clip. This actually rotated. This will just sit in there. And this is your battery tie. Now under high impact, sometimes this clip does pop off and then your battery will fly. So I recommend that you get a hard pack battery or hard case. You have these two screws, so those are two countersunk screws. It's the only two countersunk screws that are in the kit. So I'm not going to be using those since I already have installed that. And then you're going to be using 4 of these little small screws, and those small screws, might as well pull them out. Let me just find the size. Those are going to be 8mm screws. So 8mm screws should be these here. So I will not be using 4 of these. Now a quick little note, these things do break easily. Don't even bother with these. These do help with side impacts, but don't bother with these. You can get the RPMs. The RPM ones are a lot better in this case, but that is it. And then we also need these screws here, which I will pull out once we get to that section. So at this point, the important part is actually to install the servo. Now to install the servo, I'm going to go ahead and place this here. The wire is going to go that way, and the servo is just going to drop in, right in here. And for the servo, we will be using these screws here with these large heads. Those are the ones that we need. And for these, you're going to need a 2.5mm driver. So just start one, don't tighten it all the way, and then do all 4. Once you have all 4 in, then the servo will be aligned better. Then you can start driving them all the way in. If you only drive one in, the servo might be crooked, and then if you try forcing it, you could break part of the servo case if you do not loosen those screws again. So just place all of them first, adjust the servo, and then drive them all the way in. So this chassis was already built. This was from another truck. The other truck got an LCG chassis. That's why I had this one lying about. Here we go. All right. And now I'm going to hold it in place. And the reason why I want to hold it in place is because the chassis actually has these little tabs that sort of lock into the servo. This one will damage the servo accidentally by not seating it properly. All right, so now that that side is seated properly, I can let go and this will seat. So it won't be a problem. There we go, one more. And there it is. All right, so now I have this one. And now I can grab the speed control. All right, I actually have to remove this screw right in here. Now your chassis would not have this one. Like I said, this one I had used before. So now the speed control. For the speed control, we're going to be using these long ones. So it's going to be these right in here. And that's also going to be a 2.5mm driver on the speed control. Now the speed control is going to go up here, and usually you face the button toward the left. If you were installing a brushless system, this would be the time to install it, and it would install in the same place. If you buy Hobbywig systems, they generally come with a little plastic plate that you would mount there, and then you would just use double stick tape to mount the ESC. If you go with a non-Traxxas system, brushless system, I do recommend a Hobbywig Easy Run system if you want to keep it sensorless. They're very inexpensive. They're about $145 as of the time of this video. Let's just say about $150. If you only want to run 2S, there's a 4600 kV. If you want to run 3S, there's a 4000 kV actually, and I believe there's a 3200 kV. The 3200 is quite powerful, but that's if you get the 3660 motor, which is the one that you should get. That's the 60mm cam. Don't get the 52s. They don't have enough torque for the weight of these vehicles. These are over a kilo. But here we go. So this, just make sure you wipe everything off with alcohol first. Once everything is wiped off, then you can go ahead and double stick this on here. And there's actually sort of a little mark, so you can't really miss it. So if you just place it in there, right on top of the mark, you'll notice that the plastic has sort of a different color. Go ahead and set this in here. Now I can grab the antenna and just run the wire. And I'm going to stick the antenna all the way through the other side. I'm actually going to use my pliers to gently pull the little antenna wire. That's if I can reach. It doesn't want to come out. Better off using my pick or a driver. Oops, had it and then lost it. All right, now it's there. Oh, I see. The little metallic portion of the antenna was stuck. I didn't realize that. That's what was being such a challenge. Here we go. And the antenna is going to go on this small little tab, so just make sure you run it through this one. That is it for this. Now we can stick the foams on. So there's going to be some foams that will be going on here. And we have the foams here. We have a larger foam that's going to go on the top, and we have the smaller foam. The smaller foam is going to go in here. Again, make sure that everything is cleaned with alcohol, and you just need any type of rubbing alcohol will work. And this is how you seal. So this is for the so-called waterproofing that we need this. So that will go in there. And now we can place this here. Now the antenna wire, it really depends on how much you want out, but the antenna wire is going to go right in through here. You can just loop it right on back. And that's as much as I want to be out here. So I'll stick this inside. This has to stay in there. All right. And then this would go in here, but I'm not going to do that yet because first I have to install this box on the chassis. Now that's going to go on this other side right over here, and it's going to face this way. Now my recommendation is to run the wires through first. This one is fine, this one will go through here, but your servo wire, run the servo wire through here first, because if you do not, once you put the receiver box, it's going to be a pain to get this servo wire through. Now, see, this is going to go in here. Now I can go ahead and just run this in. And once I just run it through here, just gently push it through. Don't damage the wires. Just be careful. I go ahead and just grab the pliers. It's easier to use the pliers. And I'm just going to pull the cord gently, and that is it. And this will seat right in there, just keys in place. Now I can use these little short screws. These are the 6mm, and the 6mm screws are the ones that are going to hold the receiver box. So there's one that goes in here, just inside. Make sure that when you're driving the screw in, you don't accidentally pinch the wire. So make sure that these wires are off to the side. Now, in the camera, it probably doesn't show very well, but I can see that they're off to the side, so I'm not going to pinch them. Here we go. Do not over tighten anything. There's no need. Once it gets to the end, that's it. That's all you need. All right, so that wire's out of the way as well. That's the antenna. All right, and that is it. So at this point, I can just go ahead and connect everything. This is the servo. Servo goes into channel 1. The bottom 2 channels are channel 1. And you want these little metal tabs to go toward the top. So we'll just go like this. If you have a transponder and you're running a transponder will simply go in here. That is it. So now I can go ahead and place this one inside. And this is the ESC. ESC will go into channel 2. If you accidentally reverse them, the vehicle's not going to work. When you pull throttle, it's going to try to steer and it'll glitch. And when you turn the steering wheel, it'll go either forward or reverse. I can't remember. That's how you know you made a mistake. So just leave the bottom one open. So don't put anything on the bottom because that is a channel 1. And then channel 1 is the second as well. So servo second, ESC third, which is channel 1 and channel 2. You can actually put some LED lights using channel 1 if you want to. Telemetry, things like that. Or, well, I mean, it has some other channels. But that is it. So let's see. Now I'm going to need this. Now this is where you need the silicone grease. So there's some silicone grease that's provided. I'm just going to just spread some of this on here. Actually, I can put some on this strip. Just do this. You definitely need this. This is what seals it up. If you do not do this, you will not get a good seal. So there we go. All right, there's plenty. And then you want some on here, and you're going to want some on that little lid, which I should have stuck this first before I got my hands. Well, you know, as long as I don't touch that surface, I'll be fine because that surface is clean. I should have done this first. See, and you can kind of tell on the color, oh no, where this should go. And, all right, there we go. And we'll just try to put some in here. And I'm just gonna lather some right on here. All right, now the wires, you want to make sure they go between the little spaces so that you don't pinch them. That is very, very important. And as of now, those look good, those look good. And then you can just seat this on here. And for these, you're going to use those little thin screws. These will just go right in here. And that should be a 2mm. It is a 2mm. Right, let's do the other one. Just checking the wires, making sure they're fine, and they look fine. They're still in place. Just need to finish driving this one screw through. This one really doesn't want to go in. Okay, I'm missing something. What's going on? All right. Dun, dun, dun. And there it is. All right. So that is that. I'm good to go. There is plenty of silicone grease. You can also put some on this other end, which is fine. That works as well. All right. And you want this to match the light on the ESC. And here we go. So now for this we need the 8mm screws, which are these. And that is a 2mm driver. And do not over tighten this. If you over tighten the receiver box, well, the lid to the receiver box, you will actually damage that seal a lot faster. So if you access it, put it back on, you'll actually compress it so much it will stop working, and that's not something that you want because that is your waterproofing. Now I'm going to leave the entire antenna tube on here. Maybe I shouldn't. I guess I should cut it. I'll go ahead and cut it. Yeah, that's the correct. And you want to make sure that you cut the antenna tube off of the vehicle. You can't cut it on, but if you accidentally don't see where the antenna ends, you may accidentally cut your antenna, and you do not want to cut your antenna wire. There we go. All right. Now I put that rubber bit accidentally. I need to take that off. This nut goes in here. So this is what tightens everything. Now I'm not going to do it right now, but if you remember that bag of tools, it's that plastic tool that you would use. So let's see, I think I left it somewhere here on the side. I'm just tightening it a little bit by hand. So this little plastic tool, that's the one that you use for this. But right now, just tightening a little by hand. That's fine. I'm going to leave it. And that is it. So our electronics are in. Now you do want a piece of tape or something here to hold this down. I'm just going to use just regular, oops, here we go. I'm just going to use this masking tape for now, and later on I'm going to use either electrical tape or duct tape. Duct tape's actually better because your battery's going to be on there. Actually, I'm not even going to bother taping it right now. Just piece of duct tape fits right in there, and then the nice thing too is it creates a barrier for your battery, so your battery can sit on there as well. So that's good. Now, I've already explained the 2 countersunk screws will go in here. This little plate just falls in place for the battery. This is just a 5.5mm nut driver. You just drive it in, and then once it gets to the bottom, that's it. Stick this inside, put that clip in there. I showed you how to do these. So that is it. All we have to do now is just mount the front end to the vehicle. So let's go ahead and do that. Front end right in here. So this, just go at an angle like this and then push it through and then set it. And that's all you have to do. So these will line up here at the bottom. And then here at the top, we're gonna have 2 main screws that are gonna be holding it to the chassis. Then the spring will go over here. The spring will go here and those back there. That's the way this is going to be mounted. So the screws that we're going to need for this, we're going to need the 4x12mm. Now, the 12mm, I believe, are these shorter ones. Let me just go ahead and measure. And they are. Just make sure they're all 12mm. Right, they appear to all be the same size. So I'm just going to grab 2 of these, and these 12mm are going to be the screws that are going to go here in the front. So I'll go ahead and do that. And these are a 2.5mm driver. So just make sure that you're using a 2.5. All right, there we go. Have it right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the spring. So here's the spring. This just goes in there. And I'm going to be using the other guy, which is it's actually a 14 for that one. This is a 14. It's interesting that we would use a 14. All right. Well, here we go. All right, perfect. And after that, we'll be using two of the 15-inch, centimeter screws, which should be the longer ones that are left. That's 15, and that's 15. All right, so it is the longer ones. Those are going to go here to the side, and for this, you only need a 2mm driver. Let's see, almost there. All right, and that portion is ready. So we're not going to need to do anything to those on the sides. Now we just need to flip the vehicle over. And then once we flip the vehicle over, we can go ahead and install these two right here. And these two will be these two screws. Here we go. So now that the truck is upside down, we will go ahead and install the servo horn. For the servo horn, just use one of these. I believe it's this one, 10mm. Nope, that's not it. It's going to be this one then. 10mm. You do not need thread lock for this. Now, one of the things to note is make sure that you run power through your servo. Now, the servo horn is going to be pointing toward the inside, but run power to make sure that this is 90 degrees. So you want this to be perpendicular to the servo. So the horn is going to be perpendicular to the servo. And once you do that, then you can just drive the the screw into the servo. You do not need thread lock because that servo is plastic. But this is it. That goes in there. All right. Now that we have that, that is it. That is all we need. Now, these screws that we have left, these four, don't worry about those. Those were from some of the screws that I had to pull out. I don't remember which ones, but I talked about how some we weren't going to use. One quick little note: when you put this on the chassis, make sure the steering that goes inside. And that's it. So these screws that are left, these are going to hold the bumper, so they would just go in here. I'm not going to install them yet, and the reason why is because I'm actually going to install a sway bar kit off camera. Or maybe I'll do it on camera and just do a different video. But that's the reason why. Well, here it is. So this is the slash. The only thing that we need now is to mount the wheels. I'm just going to tell you how to mount them, but I'm not going to mount them because I'm going to go with different wheels. But if you look at them, some of them will say rear, and then these will say front. Make sure that you put the fronts in the fronts and the rears in the rear. If they're different offset, so if you mix them, if you put the rear in the front, you're going to narrow the truck in the front. If you put the fronts in the rear, you're going to make it wider. Maybe that's something that you want, maybe not. So just keep that in mind. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you have not. I hope you found this useful, and again, I highly recommend that you build a kit. This is a great kit to start with. Please comment below what your thoughts are. I'll catch you in the next one.
Oh, my hair! My tongue! My rod!